Gail.
And I'm Betsy. And this mini module will discuss the simple past tense for subject-verb agreement.
That's right, Betsy. And in this module, we'll also discuss what a verb is, whether the verb is an action verb or a state of being verb, and how to correctly conjugate the verb in the past tense.
Yes, Gail. But first, let's remember what a verb is.
That's good.
A verb is a part of speech, and there are a total of 8 parts of speech. The verb expresses an action or state of being.
That's right, Betsy. Let's look at some examples of action and state of being verbs in the past tense.
All right, the first one, Martha kicked the ball. Look at that, Gail. To kick is an action verb and shows what Martha was doing. The past tense of kick is kicked.
That's correct, Betsy. And the second sentence, Manolo was a handsome businessman. Was is in the past tense of the state of being verb to be. Was links Manolo to businessman. State of being verbs are also called linking verbs. These verbs refer to the subject, state, or condition. They're also known as stative verbs. These verbs describe or identify the subject.
Yes, Gail, and some examples of these linking verbs include appear, be, become, feel, grow, look, remain, seem, smell, sound, stay, and taste.
But there are many more state of being verbs than just mentioned by Betsy.
That's true. Also, keep in mind, Gail, that many of the above verbs can also be action verbs.
Wow. Let me see if I can think of an example of that, Betsy. Here's a sentence. The audience looked sympathetic. In this sentence, looked is a linking verb and links the audience to being sympathetic. So it's a state of being verb.
Good. How about this one? The audience looked at the singer on the stage. In this case, remember that looked is an action that occurred. So it's not a linking verb, it is an action verb.
Oh, that's right, Betsy. So let's see if we can identify the type of verbs in the following sentences. We will read the sentence and you will decide whether it's an action or a state of being verb.
All right, number 1. Dulce Sueño was a unique paso fino horse. Was is the verb there. Can you guess what type of a verb it is? Action or state of being? It's a state of being verb because it's was, and was links to the paso fino, which is the subject, to horses.
Correct. Number 2. His paso fino was a fine step. The verb is was, and it's also a state of being verb because it links fine step to paso fino.
Good. Okay, let's see. Number 3. Dulce Sueño walked with a fast 4-beat pace. The verb is walked. Walked is the past tense of a what? Of an action verb. That's the answer.
That's right. And number 4, with his paso largo, he trotted up to 30 miles per hour. The verb is trotted. Dulce Sueño trotted. To trot is to walk with one foot after the other. So trotted is an action verb.
Very good, Gail. Let's look at the next one. Dulce Sueño was a powerful horse. Was is a what? A state of being verb.
That's right, Betsy. And number 6, this horse impressed many enthusiasts. The verb is impressed. This is a tricky one. It's an action verb because it indicates a mental action, impress or fascinate. So the enthusiasts are impressed or fascinated with the horse.
Oh, okay. That's good. Interesting, Gail. Now, let's look at our last sentence. Betsy and Gail loved seeing this horse. What's the verb? Loved. And it's a what? An action. Good, because it expresses the the mental action that Betsy and Gail share for Paso Fino horses. And we do love those Paso Fino horses.
We sure do. So, what is a verb tense? A tense tells us when an action or state of being takes place.
That's correct, Gail. And now we will talk about the simple past tense. The past tense describes an action that occurred in the past.
That's right. And with most verbs, the past tense is formed by adding ed. But there are also many irregular past tenses in English.
That's right, Gail. But these irregular past tenses, the only way to learn them is by memorizing or learning them. There's no other way.
And practicing them.
That's
Betsy.
right.
But we have a useful handout that you students can use, and it's called the Irregular Verb List. You can find it right here on this module, or ask your tutor for a copy of one.
Oh, that's great, Gail. And the students should be able to print the list and keep it handy.
And it will help you a lot.
I'm sure it does and will.
So, keeping in mind that the past tense tells actions or states of beings for past actions, let's review the following sentences.
All right, the first one is the children left for school. That sentence says the children left already. Left is the past tense of the verb to leave.
Yep, and it's irregular. To leave, left, that's one you just need to learn. Let's look at the second sentence. David and Samuel took a bus to school. Took is a past tense of to take. So that's another irregular verb. And you just need to know that the past tense of to take is took.
Good. What about Roxana ate cereal for breakfast? Ate is the past tense of what verb? To eat. Again, an irregular verb. You've got to learn it. I'm sure that Roxana had a good breakfast and I'm hungry.
You know what? I'm kind of hungry too. Let's look at the fourth sentence. Manuel rode his bike to school. Rode is the past tense of to ride. That is another irregular verb. I bet Manuel got to his classes on time. He rode his bike and he stayed away from traffic. What do you think, Betsy?
That's true. But let's look at the next sentence. Jaime fished with his grandfather on Saturdays. The verb is fished. It's in the past tense and it belongs to fish, right? So it is what?
It's a regular verb.
It's a regular verb. Very good. Maybe now he fishes on Sundays with his grandfather as well. Who knows, Gail?
Probably so, Betsy. And the last sentence. The girls swam and dove at the community pool. Swam is the past tense for to swim. And dove is the past tense for to dive. They're both irregular verbs again. But I bet they had a lot of fun in the pool, especially when it was really hot outside.
So true. So, now that you know about action and state of being verbs, verb tenses, and the past tense, here are some useful tips. To form the past tense of regular verbs, you just add D. For example, baked, cared, filed, hated, liked, typed, or you add ed, as in asked, dialed, guessed, pulled, and viewed.
And if the verb ends in Y, change the Y to I and add ed, as in applied, cried, fried, hurried, married, spied, tried, and worried. So remember that you need to learn the past tense of irregular verbs. And you can also check out the irregular verb tenses worksheet on this module.
Good. And we also remember that the past tense does not change with the singular or the plural persons. For example, in singular, I ran, Edgardo ran. I swam, Maria swam. The article explained. In plural, we ran, they ran. We swam, they swam. The books explained.
Yes, Betsy. And now for the last two examples. My teacher wanted, the magazine described. And in the plural, the supervisors wanted, the authors described. See, it never changes.
That's right. Just remember that there are many irregular verbs in English and you just need to learn them.
And you can use our handy irregular verb tense handout to help you learn. So now, let's practice completing the following sentences with the proper past tense. Remember, use the handy worksheet in irregular tenses if you have any doubts.
All right, let's begin with the first sentence. Pedro to ride his bike to school. Let's see. Ride is an irregular verb in this case, so we'd have to change it to what, Gail?
Pedro rode.
Correct. Pedro rode his bike to school. Good job, Gail.
Thanks, Betsy. Now let's look at the second one. Pedro to hike in El Yunque last week. To hike. I think that's a regular verb. Is it, Betsy?
Yes, it is.
So the past tense would be just to add a D to it because it already ends in E. So Pedro hiked in El Yunque last week.
That's right. You're getting good at this, Gail.
Thanks.
All right. Here's one that's a little bit harder because it has two verbs. Are you ready?
Yep.
The boys to play and to run at the park on Saturday. Let's look at that. To play. Play is a what?
I think it's regular.
Very good. It's a regular verb. So what do? We add ed. So it would read, the boys played. What about to run? What is run? Is it a regular or irregular?
I think it may be irregular.
That's right. It's on that list. So we would have to change it to ran. So the entire sentence would read, the boys played and ran at the park on Saturday.
That's right, Betsy. And this next sentence I especially like. Roberto to train Pasofino horses in 1980. So the past tense of to train, I think it's a regular verb.
That's correct. So what do?
Roberto trained, add an ed to it. Roberto trained Pasofino horses in 1980.
Good job, Gail. Let's go to the last one. He to be one of the best trainers in Puerto Rico. So the verb is to be, and it happens to be what?
It's irregular.
That's correct. So the past tense would be was. So it's he was one of the best trainers in Puerto Rico. Wow, Gail, that was very interesting and fun.
I think we should review the tense of to be. I
was.
You
Were.
He or she or it.
Was.
We
Were.
They
Were.
Wow. So let's review.
All right. The past tense indicates that an action was completed in the past.
Absolutely. And add D or ed to regular verbs in the past tense. If the verb ends with Y, change the Y to I and add ed as in apply, applied.
All right. Good. Remember, irregular verb tenses are tricky and they must be learned. And where is the irregular verb list, Gail?
Well, it's in this module, but I think that it's also at the Writing Center.
And if you can't find it, ask your tutor to help you locate it.
Now, I think you can practice on your own. Use the irregular verb list in case you have any doubts.
Now, find your tutor and ask for the simple past tense handout.
Or you can find it in this module. Complete the exercises, keeping in mind what you learned in today's mini module.
After you have finished, review your answers with your tutor.
And good luck.
See you again in another mini module.
Bye.